Things that are happening in our country.
Muted.
I think I'm on.
Yeah, I just unmuted him. Okay.
Welcome to the Melting Pot. This is our own Liberian broadcast program. We come to you live every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday from the United States of America. And I have with me a couple of strong thinkers within the house. And this is a Liberian Sustainable Development think tank. This is where we discuss trending issues in our country, Liberia. And we don't pass judgment. We just discuss the issues. And then from there, we look forward to policymakers and those back home in Liberian leadership can make decisions on those things we discuss. So I am Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, and I have with me Dr. Deke.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure being back. Welcome and to all of our audience. Thanks for turning on, and we're excited to be back. Today we're going to be giving you the story as it is. As you heard, we don't mince our words, we don't pass judgment. We're just going to tell you as we see it. So thank you, and I'm pregnant. I'm ready to deliver.
Reverend Thomas.
Thank you very much. It's always a privilege to be a part of a very important discourse, especially discourses that contribute towards the rebuilding of Liberia, emerging from a very destructive war. So whenever we have the privilege of contributing our ideas, we think that would have an impact. So it's a pleasure being part of this forum. Thank you.
There you go. So 3 brilliant minds about to discuss some major issues trending in Liberia. We have for discussion tonight President Boyka is in Rome, Italy. He's there as a guest of the FAO, as they call it. How you call that? Federation of
Agriculture Organization.
Agriculture Organization. And then we also have the LRA boss, Double Jala, is saying that he's noticing that there is increment in revenue in Liberia. What does that mean for us going forward to 2025, especially with our national budget needing support? And then we will be looking at the United Methodist Church. Is it in crisis? Will the Liberian Annual Conference at the UMC endorse same-sex marriage? We'll be looking at that. Also, we'll be taking into consideration President Boyka accepts the LDA OIC PDES resignation. But the point is, he just appointed another acting OIC. So how is that helping us when drug issue in Liberia is a matter of national emergency? And then President Boyka's Executive Order 136, National Rail Authority. What are we looking to see come out of that? And how is it going to benefit Liberia? Former President George Manuel Weah was the first to initiate that. It didn't go anywhere. And now we see a resurfacing. Why do we hope to benefit from that? And then the immigration services try to recruit these few days, and they found out that over 2,000 Liberians who apply failed drug test. What does that mean for Liberia? How serious is the drug issue in Liberia? We'll be looking at that. So those are the talking points tonight. Considering that we have a lot on our plate tonight, and we have 3, I'm expecting Tyler Woody, Mr. Tyler Woody, to come on. If not, we'll be fine without him. But so that's a lot. It's going to be hitting this pretty fast, so we can stay in our 1 hour 30 minutes. If you are joining us, welcome to the Melting Pot. Please share the show, and we encourage you to please do that to the benefit of others who will be catching us online if we can share this show and it can reach other people. So Dr. Deke, let us begin the conversation with President Bouakai in Rome, Italy. I mean, that's the talking point across Liberia right now. The president has made his 10th trip in 10 months. The 10th trip in 10 months. And we have seen a lot of these trips. So I let you have a head start on this one.
Dr. Pearson, it's interesting to note, that President Bouakai has been in the presidency for 10 months. So it means that he traveled every month out of the country. What I want us to, the Liberian people, to look at is what have been the benefits of these trips over the 10 months. What Liberians have been benefiting from where he been traveling, what have been coming to the country. So these are things that I really want the Liberian people to look at. What have been President Bouakai's achievement over 10 months? We have heard so many things that he was bringing. For instance, he said that there were going to be 189 yellow machines. We heard about it, and we didn't see that. No, we didn't see those machines. We have rumors that the machines are in the barracks and being guarded by soldiers. We also heard that how you call it? We're breaking grounds for they signed an MOU for a refinery that will be built in Grand Bassa County.
Right.
I'm still not convinced. In 10 months' time, how can you sign an MOU? An MOU is not a contract. He also traveled to the States. He been to Canada, so many places. I mean, there are no benefits. There are no benefits that come into Liberia. So President Bouakai needs to come and explain to the Liberian people all of what he has done, where he have been going for the past 10 months, what he have brought to Liberia. We would need to hear that. He can just mute himself and not say anything. President Bouakai is answerable to the Liberian people. So I will give Reverend Thomas the chance now so he can elaborate further.
Thank you, Doc. You've mentioned the number of trips the president have made. He's a well-traveled president. It has become a modus of operation for the president. I wish he could travel more internally in Liberia as opposed to these foreign trips, because the question becomes, how are these trips funded? Do we have the funding? What is the opportunity cost to travel to these areas as opposed to traveling or focusing on domestic travels? What are the Liberian people's agricultural policies? What is the mission? What are the objectives that we hope to achieve? I hope those objectives will be clearly articulated so that we become aware of them. What are the practical things that are now being done in Liberia to meet the objectives for which he has now traveled to the world, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization? Has he been able to articulate Liberia's needs? And is he advocating for investment in Liberia? Are his goals clearly articulated? I know there's a need to have a diagnostic approach. I hope he has done so. But once you diagnose a problem, then the next is to solve the problem. Have the Liberian government diagnose its agricultural problems? And what are the solutions that have been proposed to solve these problems, for which now we are looking outward for folks to come in and help us? So we do need to understand, firstly, the diagnosis that have been done, and then we need to know what policies have been put in place to solve these problems. But the troubling thing is that although on the agenda of the president, agriculture is central, the budgetary allocation that was made in the area of agriculture, unfortunately, does not reflect the objective of addressing agriculture as the primary goal of this president. So it is my fervent hope that as the president, when he returns to the country, we will have a clearer picture of what achievement he has made as the result of traveling to Italy to appeal to the world body to help Liberia. His achievements or the tangibles must be clearly identified, clearly told to the Liberian people, so that the questions surrounding these trips will not keep popping up.
So the last time I checked is that the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Nuttah, did develop what they're referring to as a national agriculture strategy, and that the president was going out there as well to sell that strategy. So I'm not sure if the strategy is transmitted into a proposal form or format that clearly articulates how someone can get a buy-in into those policies. So but my concern, and I'm not sure if any of you can help me, but I'll just throw it out there. When I listened to President Boyka's press release before his travel, I was told that the public is told that he was going there to discuss the matter of food security and strategies to addressing those challenges around food security. But like you said, Liberia cannot feed itself, right? We for 177 years, the oldest African republic, we've not been successful enough to feed ourselves. We've tried, but have not been successful to feed ourselves. So how can we go lecture others about agriculture and feeding and addressing food security when we ourselves have no testimony, nothing to reflect on to show as best practice, or maybe what someone say like this is what we've done successfully, and this is what you can do to emulate what we've done. Dr. Deke.
Yeah, Dr. Pearson, I think is very significant that we listen to President Boyka speech at the World Food Forum, so that the Liberian people can, some of them who never had the opportunity to listen, let's just partly listen to what he said. Let give him the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Director General, for the kind invitation to address this august body as we discuss good food today, good food tomorrow, insecurity and urgent need to improve the world agri-food system. It is an honor to address you on this present concern that transcends borders and affects millions of lives. Today, we are witnessing an alarming rise of hunger and malnutrition across various parts of the globe, with impact profoundly. The stark reality is that despite its fertile soils and vibrant cultures, Africa is beset by complex challenges such as climate change, conflict, for food security. By sharing our vision and experience in building an inclusive, resilient, and transformative agri-food system, one that can deliver sustainable food security and nutrition for our people, not just today, 4% dependent on international support. Liberia is vital net carbon sink, absorbing more greenhouse gas than it emits, and proudly contains over 40% of the West Africa remaining rainforest. While we remain proud to the country's economy, accounting for 28.9% of our gross domestic product. And
Dr. Pearson, I know the president's speech is so lengthy, but we want to encourage Liberians to go on the Executive Mansion website and get the full content of his speech. From my own perception, I think the president was generalistic in his speech. He didn't talk about Liberia, focusing on the major needs they have. During this forum, I think he should have been one of the person to really talk about Liberia. This is someone who served as LPMC director. He has been in the agriculture sector in the country. He understands what has happened. What have been some of the strategy? What is his strategy that he intend to employ as a president, in Liberia? We didn't hear all of those things. He talked about Africa. He talked about rainforest. He talked about climate change. But what is really affecting Liberia? What are some of the strategies that Liberia, the government has in place so that the citizens will benefit? We didn't hear that. And this is something that we want to hear from President Bouaka, because agriculture is important. Food is important. If Liberians cannot feed themselves, I mean, they can go nowhere. You're talking about hunger. How many people hungry in Liberia? There are lots of people who, yearning for food. There is no food. Liberians cannot feed themselves. So don't you think it's important that, the president could discuss about agriculture, some of the strategy, appeal for some of those things? I mean, he could use this forum to attract investment. So I think, in my opinion, I'm entitled to that, the president did not do well at the World Food Forum. We expect much better from him.
And I wish, am I?
Yeah, you can. I can hear you.
All right. Yes, and I couldn't agree with you the more. He has identified some of the problems, climate change, the conflicts, but then also he identified the fact that we have a very robust forest land that is arable. What was lacking is what Liberians are doing in the area of agriculture. And after identifying what Liberians are doing, our faults and failures, now we could ask the international community, because we lack the funding or we lack the mechanism to engage in mechanized farming. Therefore, we are appealing for technical support.
Absolutely.
Let the world now come in and give us that technical support that will be needed to boost our agricultural quest. That should have been clearly articulated. My question is, does the Food and Agriculture Organization has funding for African countries or third world countries that want to improve their agricultural output? Or is it just business as usual? We go to these conferences, we talk, we identify our problems, and after the conferences end, we return to square one. So the need to really revisit our agriculture policies and mission and really re-engage in what was done in the past. I recall, I'm a person from the Talbot era. The interventions that were made in trying to promote food production in Liberia were robust. Since he's a man of experience that lived during that era, he could revisit those policies that are already on the books and resurrect them and engage the Liberian population forcefully to really go back to the land and do agriculture.
All right. Yeah. Force Liberians go back to the land, do agriculture. But before we take leave of this topic, I did hear the president talking about the importance for international partners to invest in agriculture. When I heard him say that, the only thing that could come to mind was the waste in our own government. So with the level of waste, by virtue of the fact of the increasing corruption in our country, does that show that we're serious in any way that FAO and other international partners? I know that the USAID, the United States institution, also provide a lot of funding for agriculture in Liberia, but I mean, we've never moved the needle despite all of those funding. So with the waste in our governments, from government to government, is that going to make a difference to keep putting water in a leaking bucket?
Dr. Pearson, you know that there is no serious investor will want to do business with a government that's being so extravagant with their resources. You all know that this government, in their recast budget, they have gathered more money for themselves than the common citizen. How can you attract investment? How will investor come to your country and there is no financial security? What I expected from President Bouaga at that forum is to tell the people, that's the word forum, what they have done, what they have achieved, what do they anticipate, what would they expect, like what Reverend Thomas said, what do they expect from the word to help them? We were not hearing. He just keeps talking about, oh, this is what we want. What do you have? What have you done? Those are evaluations that I already expected from the president's speech, and I didn't gather that. And like I said, President Bouaga need to double up. In 10 months, he had traveled over 10 months. So every month he was out of this country. He's spending more time out of the country than even being in the country. So I don't know. Liberia will not benefit from that forum. I think they just use the taxpayer money just to travel and get a lot of DSAs in the pockets and come back. That's it.
I do think that the president has an opportunity to return home and do a serious analysis. You've indicated that there's a lot of waste. Now, the opportunity is for him to sit down and streamline all of his ministries, all of those areas and processes that result into waste, identify the waste, and then make a concerted effort to cut down on the waste. It takes determination without any fear for him to do that. If the waste is in the salaries of individuals, if the waste is in the various ministries where 2, 3, 4 persons are doing the same job, you want to do an analysis to identify these things and cut down on them. Then after cutting down, the funding that will be saved, you redirect them to your priority areas, which is agriculture. But sometimes it's difficult to do those kinds of analysis, but they are required in order for you to recruit fundings that you need to spend on your priority items.
Yeah, that takes us to our next topic. If we're looking for money, LRA boss say we already hitting some targets with revenue generation.
Is that a celebration? No, but look, Dr. Pearson, I know we're going to the LRA, but I want to fortitude President Bouaga. Let him do his best in getting the 189 machines to the yellow machine to Liberia. I think Liberians need those machines. The agriculture sector, they need to invest more in the agriculture sector. They need to grow more food. So definitely we want to see that. We're not giving up on President Bouaga. He's still got about 5 more years to go. His first year, but he's going 10 months. Absolutely, he has failed the first year. So he got 5 more years to resurrect, and get on board. Now, coming back to the LRA, should we celebrate this success? I mean, most of the money going back into their pockets. I mean, how many of the common citizens benefiting? See how much they allocated for healthcare, education. I mean, see how much they give to agriculture. The colleges in the rural counties, they're receiving 35,000, 75,000. Unexplained miscellaneous, 10 million, right? I mean, they're allocating how you call it, covert mission, 1.10 million, secret mission.
The miscellaneous were 2.3 million.
2.3 million, and then the covert mission, I think, covert operation.
2 million.
2 million. Yeah. So, I mean, these people are allocating money for themselves. So the strategy is that, okay, yeah, we have raised 500 million in domestic revenue, but all with and then noticing that the recast budget was what was the recast budget again? That the PSA was it 600 and
730 some
730 something million.
Yeah, I think so.
So they have raised 500 million in domestic revenue. Can you imagine? Liberians are trying, they are really trying. I mean, people are paying, they're trying to pay taxes. But bulk of the money going back to what? The government themselves. The president and his vice president used over $1 million to buy a bulletproof car, provide security for themselves. But the people, they are languishing in hunger. There is no food in the country. They are not investing in agriculture. But they look, Dr. Pearson, President Bouaga needs to stand up and make decisions for himself and for the country. And it's something that he's not able to do. We saw that in the pro-poor government with the former President George Weah. If somebody do something, you must come up and say it. If it's time for you to make decisions, you must make those decisions. President Bouaga is lacking in that skill. He needs to toughen up his leadership skill. And we saw that in the former Minister of Commerce case. And we expected President Bouaga to come out and speak, but he was waiting for him to resign. There are times you have to come out and make decisions. So like the agriculture sector, President Bouaga needs to say, we got to grow more food. We have to allocate enough money for our farmers. Let's put our farmers into the forest to make fine. And these are things that we're looking forward to over the next 5 years from President Bouaga.
So the growth in revenue collection, according to them, I think the CDC administration generated more money than this during the administration. But for them, they got off to a slow start. So when they saw this intake, they thought that it was a good sign moving to 2025. So what is running through my mind now as a great thinker is this progress projecting a better future for the 2025 budget, 2025 national budget? Are they looking at this to project for a better budget for 2025, or are they just basking in this just to appease the political or the partisans, just for another political point? Reverend Thomas.
Well, to my mind, it's a positive thing when domestic revenue is increased. That presupposes if they were to tap into all the areas where revenues were not really being generated, they could increase domestic revenues exponentially. But then the question is, are you going to utilize what you've gotten on wage bill, on these high wage bill, on unnecessary spending? And this is where the decision from the president will come in. You do have priorities. Number one, it is your priority to boost agriculture. So we have to redirect money into the area of agriculture. The area of education is wanting. We have to redirect more money into the area of education to improve education. We also have to redirect money in the healthcare area. So of course, it's good news. Let's tap into these avenues, but do the redirection. It has to take presidential leadership. And I think I should think the president and his chief lieutenants are listening to such talk shows like these, and they should act on what the citizenry are saying. We're saying, Mr. President, yes, it's a good thing to increase domestic revenue. There are potential of even increasing it much more, but the new source of funding should be redirected to your priority areas and not to wasteful spending, not to the wage bill. In fact, there's a need to decrease the wage bill, but it has to take political will to do that.
I'm aware that the IMF is also pushing the current government. I think they've already concluded on that wage bill to be minimized to some degree, because the Bouaga administration have seen a surge in that wage bill, even though they were downsizing on the payroll, but the wage bill still went up in the recast budget. So I think the IMF and other international partners have worked with the Liberian government the past few days to cut down on that wage bill for 2025. But this is my question, right? This is my concern again. You know, I think Reverend Thomas and Dr. Dayke, you all have said it right. But the question here is that, you know, do we have the political will and the fiscal discipline that even in as much as we're seeing in taking revenue, do we have the political will and the political the political will and the fiscal discipline so that we don't see another 15 million or 20 million, you know, off budget expenditure? Like the Reverend Thomas is saying, we should encourage the president to put it in the budget towards priority areas in his arrest agenda, but then they spend outside of the budget totally and leave the budget sitting there. So I mean, what insurance, what assurances do we have that they are going to do the right thing? And then that would take us home on this topic.
Dr. Pearson, I'm very concerned about lavish spending, fiscal indiscipline, and corruption and mismanagement that is unfolding within the President Boaga government. I'm not going to close my eyes to say that we're not seeing lavish spending. We're not seeing corruption. We're seeing government officials buying vehicles, 45,000. I mean, we understand Liberia have money. The country is rich, but we are not managing the resources. Now, what the LRA has said, I'm not going to celebrate that. Collecting 513 million, which is 74% of the total domestic revenue. I mean, that is not a celebration. Liberia could do more. It tells me that we can do better. We can manage the little we have and add on to what we're receiving from outside. So President Boaga, they need to, employ more fiscal discipline in the country. They need to manage the resources properly. They need to govern the country so that the IMF, the World Bank, all the people will see that, yeah, Liberia is doing good. Then they will start to give them money. But what we're seeing here now, nobody going to take that money and throw it in that country. You can see how. So I don't have no confidence for now. For the past 10 months, for what I've seen, I have no confidence in the Boaga's government to say, oh yeah, they have fiscal discipline. I'm not going to sugarcoat my words. No, it is not. They have to double up. They got 5 more years to work. The international community looking at them. We started to hear conversation about sanctions now because government officials are misusing the taxpayer money. They are sending more money out of the country now. And we're seeing that. We're hearing it. We're receiving intelligence. What is President Boaga doing about that? So there is no assurance that the Pearson, there is no assurance that the IMF will come in and they will want to pump in more money into the country. There is no assurance that investor will come. Which of the investors you have seen that will sign MOU with a government? Is MOU a contract? If I sign an MOU with Dr. Pearson, is that a contract? I mean, how can you come how can you come to the citizen and say you signed an MOU or how many billions of dollars? I mean, you coming to build a refinery. I mean, what? I mean, do you need a rocket scientist to understand? You don't have to study finance to say, no, that is not true. They need to stop filibustering. They need to stop, giving lies to the people that, yeah, we are attracting investment. They need to do more. President Boaga and his government needs to work. They have done nothing in 10 months. Look, we need a yellow machine. They said they had it. We need it. Let them send it. Let them invest in the agriculture sector and let them do more. We need it. President Boaga need to get up. He's still sleeping.
Thomas, the ball is in your court.
Well, one of the things that works well in the area of education and in objective criticism is first to acknowledge in the area of education, to acknowledge a positive development. Whenever a student improves, you acknowledge that improvement. That motivates them to do more. We did acknowledge the fact that because they've raised over $500 million, there are chances. There are other avenues that have not been tapped We motivate them to tap those areas, those sources. So it's a positive development. In addition to that, the IMF and other institutions have placed Liberia under measures to ensure that there is fiscal discipline. But the students, I mean, the population and pressure groups and groups like us do have a role to play. All right. We have the role of holding our government officials, our governments accountable. All right. Not only at the level of talking, but also at a level of writing specific petitions and identifying and holding their feet to the fire what we want them to do. The citizenry could write petitions saying to their representatives that, listen, you guys are making extraordinary salaries. We petition you to reduce these salaries and redirect some of the monies to our causes. The citizens have that right. Here in the United States, we petition our government officials. We hold them accountable and they make reports to us. So we have to assert some pressures. We're not only relying on international sources to bring about fiscal discipline in our governance process, but we should not remain passive. Let us act. Let us engage those that have been entrusted with responsibility. Unless we do that, there will be no change.
Unless we do that, there will be no change. You are listening to The Melting Pot, and we come on every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday discussing issues that are trending in Liberia. And today we've been discussing the issue of the president's travel to Rome, Italy, for the FAO program, where he spoke on the food forum. And then we discussed the LRA that I've just said that they're seeing some increase in revenue. So the Liberian people making a lot of money now to pay taxes. That's good news. All right.
That appears they are saying is a boost for the national budget. Now, what we need to do is to compare and contrast the pro-poor government domestic revenue collections with that of Bouakai. You will notice that the pro-poor government they were even collecting more revenue, domestic revenue, as compared to Bouakai. So I don't understand, like I said, I don't support either of the president. I only support the presidency. So definitely I can tell you that President Bouakai shouldn't be dancing, at this early stage that, yes, this is a boost in our budget. I mean, you in 10 months time, you celebrating this? Look, let me tell you, let's speak reality. Liberia is so hard.
Let me just drop this in, right? Dr. Deke, that 500 million that we're talking about is some of our school districts, maybe middle school district funding there.
That middle school district.
All right, so let's move on. I want to move over quickly to this time to begin with Reverend Thomas Johnson. Reverend Thomas Johnson, you are a clergy, so am I. The United Methodist Church in Liberia is in crisis over issues and having to do with same-sex marriage. The worldwide convention for the United Methodist Church has endorsed same-sex marriage and redefined marriage in their book of discipline, so that it includes not any two person who decide to get married and have feelings for themselves. And there are countries around the world, including Liberia, who are stiffly resisting this. So let me hear your take on this as a clergy.
Well, the issue of same-sex union is an ancient issue. In fact, interestingly, John Boswell wrote about this same-sex union in pre-modern Europe. It is an ancient human phenomenon. But as a clergy, what is the basis of my decision? What is the basis of our ethical decisions? That's what's dictated in the book that we use, the Bible. And what does the Bible say? We have to come back to that book. So regardless of what an organization, an established organization, contrive to accommodate folks, if that is not in conformity to what's stated in scripture about the same-sex lifestyle, then of course we have to kick it out, because the Bible becomes the final arbiter of our decision. And it's clearly documented in Leviticus 20:13 that it is an abomination for man to lie with another man, as he will be lying with a woman. Also, coming to the New Testament times, the Apostle Paul said that homosexuality is contrary to God's order and results from being rejected by God. In the Corinthians church, it was also indicated that homosexuality was one of the sins that will prevent an individual from really from entering the kingdom of God. So with those statements in the Bible, to my mind, regardless of what an institution, a corporate institution says, if that is not in conformity with what the words of God says, then we revert to the words of God. So the Methodists are struggling with that, and there are so many folks struggling with that. I don't think there should be a struggle, because the words are clear. In the United States, are you there, Dr. Pearson?
I'm listening.
Yeah, we follow you. Go ahead, Reverend.
Yeah, in our United States, there are a lot of things going on. The government allow people for human rights issues. They promote certain things. For instance, abortion was legalized. Is it right? Some folks are saying no, it is not right. According to our belief, it should not be legalized. It should not be institutionalized. Now, in some government offices, you have to ask a person, what is your sex? You cannot just look at a person and say, this is a man or this is a woman. You must. So society is going down a slippery slope. But for our religious institutions, for religious denominations, to my mind, they have to be obedient to what's articulated in scriptures. If there's any ruling that is contrary to scriptures, the religious institution must reject such ruling. And so the Methodists have a clear mandate indicated in the Bible. Why are they struggling with the issue when the Bible clearly states that it is abominable?
Thank you, Reverend Thomas. Just so we're not biased to the Methodist Church, there are other denominations that have also subscribed to same-sex marriage and gay in the clergy and gay bishop and all of that. The Methodist Church is just one of those currently struggling to get its foot through the door because of the political push behind it also. So today, I know you have the statement from the bishop, right? Bishop Quia. You want to play that statement also? We hear some of the things the bishop is saying.
Yeah, let's listen to the bishop and
Bishop Samuel Quia, right?
Yeah, Bishop Samuel Quia of the United Methodist Church Annual Conference.
Non-Christians and to the entire citizenry of Liberia. The issue of same-sex marriage has been lingering on since we returned from our general conference that was held in the United States from April 23rd to May 3rd. When I returned to Liberia, or before I could come, I made a statement for all members of the church to remain calm. And then I also told them about the decisions that were taken at the general conference. When I returned in the country, I had a major press statement on June the 7th. And some of you who are here today from the various media institutions, from the print media, and the electronic media were here. Today, it behooves me as the bishop of the United Methodist Church to address you, members of the press, people called United Methodists, the Christian community, and citizens of Liberia. And I want to say here that as the United Methodist Bishop, that our church, the United Methodist Church in Liberia, is not a gay church.
Our church, the United Methodist Church in Liberia, is not a gay church. Let's listen further.
Nor will it ever adopt such an identity. We, as members of the United Methodist Church in Liberia, we firmly uphold the definition of marriage as a sacred union between one man and one woman, nothing more and nothing less. This belief is deeply rooted in our.
Dr. Pearson, the bishop's speech is available for consumption, and he has said it. He was loud and clear. He articulated the fact that the Methodist Church is not a gay church. Well, let me come in. 7 years ago, I wrote a book, and it's being sold on Amazon, called Homosexuality: Conversation with Love and Respect. If you have the opportunity, you should grab a copy of that book on Amazon. 7 years ago, when I brought up that conversation, and I said Christians needs to start looking at the choices of their members. In the next 5 or 10 years from now, you're going to have members in the church who are participating in different things. I had an experience. What motivated me to write that book? I won't call that person in. I had a conversation with a music minister. And he was a music minister when he comes to the church. And Dr. Pearson, when he administers, people falls in the spirit. The whole church, you can feel the anointing. But in the night, he's a gay. But Sunday morning, he's a minister. And he came to me and confided in me and told me his story. And I said, can I write a book out of it? I did. People accused me that I was a gay commentator. I said, no. Because this conversation will resurrect in the years to come. Now we've seen it. If you have your kids in the house, let's say 2 kids or 2 boys, and one of them decided to be a gay, Dr. Pearson and Reverend Thomas, I want to ask you an honest question. What will you do to the one who have chosen, who have made that choice to be a gay? Will you kill that person? Will you abandon them? Will you tell them, will you disown that kid? Or what will you do? Reverend.
So
Well, this is where.
Yeah. Okay.
This is where.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is where human rights issue comes in. The fact that someone is different and chooses a lifestyle by their own choice, the society can still protect that person. You can still love that person, but you cannot institutionalize that lifestyle. That's the problem we're confronting with, institutionalizing a lifestyle. And these people are pushing towards the institutionalization of a lifestyle, even tying that to foreign policies, coercing African nations to adopt such as a policy in the country, and therefore they will get funding. I think that's evil. Yes, that child will be loved, all right? The humanity of that child will be respected, but that does not mean the lifestyle should be institutionalized.
That does not mean the lifestyle should be institutionalized. So you are listening to
I need your opinion because I got a follow-up comment.
Okay, you are listening. If you just join us, you are listening to the Melting Pot, and the Melting Pot is a weekly edition, Monday.
And Doc,
we are on part 3.
that
Yeah.
there are a lot of arguments.
Right.
I mean, we going back to the pre-modern era where it was like a power things where people that were conquered people.
Right.
Sometimes the conqueror would subdue the male, through sexual act to humiliate them.
Right.
Okay. Then the question about whether it's biological also had been discussed so many times.
Right.
Is it because of the person's biology? But then there are counter arguments that, listen, it could be choice.
Absolutely.
And those are potent arguments as well.
Right.
Just like you counsel a person who wants to abort a child and say, look, keep this child. There are avenues whereby the child could be raised.
Correct.
Okay. There's counseling. Let
me hold you there for a second, because the emphasis is the United Methodist Church, right?
Right. No, but the Methodist Church they have already cleared the doubt that
it's not the left side right now, it's the United Methodist Church. So I just want to make a couple of clarity. So the United Methodist Church is in crisis because the guys are saying that we heard Bishop's choir, right? It's clear. He's like, listen, our church is not a gay church, and we still hold the traditional definition for marriage. So he was clear on that. But the issue here that people within the clergy has in the United Methodist Church in Liberia is that the General Annual Conference within the Worldwide Conference has made this optional for regional conferences and regional local conferences to adapt what they feel is appropriate for them. So the Liberian Annual Conference, the guys are arguing that there's supposed to be a plain United Methodist Annual Conference, a special conference, where they're supposed to go and make a definite decision on what was decided by the global conference, the worldwide conference. And why that is important is because then Liberia has a clear feedback or a clear statement, policy statement from the church as to directly what was done globally. I don't know if I'm making sense here, if you get what I'm saying. So because if they cannot go to the Liberian Annual Conference and have a position statement on what the global conference has done, the worldwide conference has done, then it means Liberia still does not have a definite position on that decision that was taken at the global conference. And this is where I think they feel Bishop has failed to call a conference, the special conference that they previously agreed on to make that determination. So I think that's where the hurdles are. And I think 5 or 8 of the ministers have been dismissed or suspended for being vocal that conference be held. So my next question is, is the bishop in standing to suspend his clergy for demanding that they go to the special annual conference to make that determination to respond to the worldwide conference?
Dr. Pearson, the bishop has his own right, has his way that he operates the church alongside with his fellow clergy. But let me remind you of 2 things. One, Liberia or Africa, Liberia is a different country. America is a different country. When you go to the global conference, you have people from different walks of life. People coming that believe in different things. So let me use Liberia as an example because that's where I'm from. In Liberia, we dance to drum. The way we dance on the streets, the same way we dance in the church. The way we celebrate God is not how the people celebrate God in America. So Christian freedom of choice is very important when you're creating doctrinal points. And what I think here is that what the people believe in America and other countries, you can bound that on what people need or what people believe in Africa or in Liberia. So the way the people dance in Liberia is not how the people are going to dance in America. So people who are in the church, in the Methodist church, let's say, for example, I'm not trying to narrow it, but let's say people who in the church in Liberia, there are people who from the African traditional religion, the poorer society, and all the society that got converted and they came to the church. So the way they dance, the way they were taught to dance in the butches, that how they brought those same dancing in the church. When you come to America, you see the people standing and worshiping God. When you come to Liberia, you see them worshiping God differently. So Christian freedom of choice is very important. Not because we in Liberia, we don't accept people who are gay. So it means that people who have made that choice to be a gay in America or in Asia, they should be rejected. They should be abandoned. No. What the church needs to do, accept what you can accept, preach to the gay, preach to the homosexual, convert them, let them come to repentance. But if you cannot preach so that those people will repent of their sins, you want to force them, and you feel that they want to institutionalize the process, then it making no sense to me. As a theologian, it makes no sense to me, because everyone should have a freedom of worship. The way you worship, so then why is it that we have the Baptist, we have the Lutheran, we have the Roman Catholic Church? Why everybody had to break away from the Roman Catholic Church if they were doing the right thing? Even though we don't want to go into doctrinal point, but we can find a time where we can go through these things, substantively. But I think we need to have this conversation with love and respect, okay? And not just look at it like it being institutionalized. So what the problem is coming from now from the bishop, how can he disseminate this information? How can you do that? This is a church at the global level, and here is a little church in Liberia. The United Methodist Church is just a set to the global church. So other churches in the United Methodist Church have accepted the fact that people who are gay should have the right to go to church. But the people in Liberia said, no, we shouldn't institutionalize it. So they are saying that those people should be rejected. When you are gay, don't come to church. Instead of them praying so that the people can repent of their sin, let's look at reality, man.
Let's get something straight. I don't think you are doing
all right.
You cannot come to church.
Dr. Pearson, the bishop clearly indicated the policy or his belief of what was discussed here in the United States. He says Liberia is not a gay. Liberian Methodists are not gay people. It's not a gay church. But in terms of the way policies are made in churches, let's go into that. This position has to be rectified through a conference of the Liberian Methodists to make it legitimate. So he has an obligation to call a conference. In spite of the fact that Liberia is a tiny country, yes, they have a right to set a position on the issue. So it behooves the bishop to call a conference of the clergy, the Methodist clergy, so that that position will be clearly articulated, documented, and disseminated. One little country can make a difference.
One little country can indeed make a difference.
Right. He cannot suspend the folks without having a conference.
Right.
I think the Methodists have a democratic way of resolving issues, right? According to their book of discipline.
Right. So let us. This is an interesting topic, I must admit. We cannot exhaust this topic.
No, we don't have much time on that.
And besides that, there is what we refer to as a political undertone to this as well. Even the Liberian government getting certain resources or certain funding would have to play to this as well. All right, the legislature is under pressure as well to pass a bill that would give the right to people to do same-sex marriage and sex, other issues around sexuality. But I'll go to President Boakai. We shouldn't take long on this one. I'll give us one shot at this. President Boakai accepts the LDA officer in charge, Christian Peters' resignation. And then he said the guy did well, but the guy said, "Listen, Mr. President, I thank you for giving me time to serve, but I did not have sufficient staff. I did not have correct financial support. I did not have correct training for my men. I did not have good technical support, and no logistical support. But I did what I could. Anyway, thank you for the time myself, and I'm leaving." But now drug is a national emergency. Why would the president give one man, three men position the director proper, the deputy for administration, the deputy for operation, and land that one responsibility on one individual. And now this guy has resigned, Peter's resigned, and the president has appointed someone as acting again, but just one person. I'll start with you, Dr. DK. Is drug ready number one problem for Liberia that the president has said?
We have always said that on the show that the issue of drugs in Liberia is a serious predicament. We have now erased that, and we even during the president inauguration, he said it that the state of emergency, he declared state of emergency on drugs. Today we see that Liberia is being used as a herb. Just 2 months ago, we discovered an unknown plane that landed, a plane, an aircraft that landed in Sierra Leone that was arrested, and they said they came by way of Liberia. We have intelligence and information that drugs being dropped in Liberia, and some government official allegedly involved into the process. President Bouaka also dismissed his LDA's boss now. He suspended them first. Now we have clear information they have been dismissed. Now, what have happened? We're still waiting for that investigation to get the full content of it. Here is it that Mr. Peter, who was appointed to act in that position as an officer in charge, he just tendered his resignation. And one thing I like, he reminded the president that there should be a strategic approach in fighting drugs. And, you know, I always tell you, Dr. Pearson, what really disappointed me most about President Bouaka, he's not a novice. This is the man who have 40 plus years in government. Before I was born, he was working in government. So experience kind of a whole lot. That's why Elon said there's a difference between education and school. So President Bouaka shouldn't be someone that don't have strategy. That shouldn't be someone that will be slumbering when it comes to decision making. My expectation was so high for President Bouaka. I'm being disappointed. And if you're going to tell me whether Liberia is going to win the war on drugs, it's far from being possible. Far from being possible. I would like to end on that and give Reverend Thomas the chance.
Well, thank you. This is an important issue as well. But my understanding of the presidency, the philosophical idea that informed the existence of the presidency was that one man cannot execute the functions of the presidency, and therefore you have cabinet. Therefore, you have these chief lieutenants who are supposed to be the experts, who are supposed to be the think tanks. So that if you place a person, Mr. Pearson, for instance, in the area of education, he is supposed to be the brain to notify the president, to bring forth all different strategies that will make sure that the mission is achieved. All right. But if that person fails to do so, the president may be ill-served. I do observe that the president have taken a lot of time to make decisions in terms of those people that were under investigation. I think the decision should have been timely, the length of time it took to investigate and to put in someone else that was a long time. The president needs he needs help with that. He needs to really be on top of things. And again, this is where the leaders that he has hired to work with him come in. All right. You know, once you declare a state of emergency, you said drug is a state of emergency. That presupposes that you will mobilize revenue in that area to address the emergency issue. Example, I've worked with New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene for 24 years in the area of tuberculosis control. Tuberculosis was a public health issue. What did the city and state do? They mobilized resources. The mission was to eradicate this disease as a public health threat. And therefore, a lot of resources was mobilized. Funding was mobilized, logistics was mobilized, policies were put in place. We left no stone unturned. I think Liberia should take a picture from this. Once you declare that emergency, it's priority number one. The goal or the objective is no drug should be allowed to penetrate the space of Liberia. So we secure the borders, we secure the waterways, we secure the airway, we do rigorous inspection. It requires funding. Mr. President, we have to step up the game. It's a state of emergency. Are we going to allow another generation to be wiped out as a result of drug addiction? Or are we going to galvanize the necessary funding needed? And we're going to train, we're going to put in place the strategies needed. There should be a zero tolerance. It's a state of emergency. So the funding is needed, the logistics is needed, the training is needed. These must be stepped up. There's no need to have another acting person in that position. Why are they acting? Appoint someone, hold this person accountable, let them give you the strategies needed, and let them keep feeding you with the necessary information, the progress you're making. Set specific objectives and goals and monitor those objectives, monitor the goals to see whether they have been achieved. That's what's needed.
Wow. That was powerful. That was powerful.
Dr. Pearson, I'm really excited from what Reverend Thomas said. So it means that even if that President Bouaga appoint another person without the logistical support, budget allocation, it means that we're going to have people who just resigning from the government because they are not being allocated. They don't have full support. So this is very important. And the war against drugs should be hugely emphasized. We need to do something about this. Our children are dying. Yeah, serious.
So how does this reinforce this conversation then? Immigration services trying to recruit, and then they found out that the people they try to recruit, 2,000 of them failed drug tests, including recruitment.
But Dr. Pearson, drugs is in the country. Right now, you find out that you have low employment. So everybody today just trying to find a way out. The country is so difficult. So everyone want to get involved. And drugs is the fast money. So they are involved into it. So it tells you the government is failing on the war of drugs. They have to do something. 2,000, when I read that thing and discovered that 2,000 of the candidates, they failed the drug test, I was like, wow, Liberia is in problem. That's what I said. The war against drugs is far from being over. I'm telling you, it's far from being over. President Bouaga, those money, those unknown Messalunians, those 2.something million, they should be allocating towards the fight against drugs. They should try training personnel. Look what Peter said. Peter said low personnel, insufficient staff, low budget allocation. And he named them. They don't have no logistics. Rehabilitation, because even when you arrest those guys, you have to take them to a rehabilitation center so they can get reintegrated, rehabilitated, and reintegrated into the society. So all the programs have to come in place. So this is far from being over. I'm worried. This is a little weapon that may likely damage a huge amount of percentage of our citizens if we're not careful. Yeah, this is a serious situation.
Okay, Reverend Thomas, if you don't have anything else to say on this subject, can we move to the next one? Oh no, you haven't said anything on this. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I have addressed that. It will take willpower. It takes a recognition that when you say something is an emergency, you must be serious about it. It is an emergency. Emergency requires immediate attention. It requires the mobilization of all the tools you have, okay, to address that bleeding that is going on. You want to stop the bleeding. You want to infuse life. So if it has to take identifying the sources from which these drugs come, identify those sources and close those sources. Where are the drugs coming from? Who's bringing the drugs in the country? Are they coming through our porous borders? Are they being shipped? Ships, are they coming on flights? Inspect the flights. Okay, when you secure those areas, then the people that are peddling these drugs, you go after them. But it's a serious matter that requires aggression. Should we mobilize the army to the borders? It is an emergency. Institute emergency measures to address an emergency.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So that takes us to the next conversation for tonight as we make progress on our time. If you're joining us, you are listening to the Melting Pot. We come on the air every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 p.m. GMT Liberian Time. We discuss trending issues in Liberia. And right now we're about to discuss about President Boakai's Executive Order 136. And what that executive order tried to do is to establish a national rail authority. Usually, to establish institutions like these, you got to go through the legislature, and then the legislature has to pass a bill or an act that clearly defines such an institution. But little President Boakai has taken liking to executive order. So now this supposed to bring forth an end to the argument between ArcelorMittal and the government, where ArcelorMittal has been given user rights to the rail that they operate on between Nimba to Monrovia and then Nimba to Grand Bassa County. So and this is interplaying with high power, how do you call them? HPX. This is playing in with HPX. So the question here is, should we be talking about multi-role use, meaning sharing the same one railroad, been having same Charlie Quintan from Lamco and there, that same one railroad will be talking about fighting over it, or should we be having multi-construction of railroads? Like if you want to do business, construct your railroads. Why you all say? What's your thoughts on this?
Reverend Thomas, go into that because this
Reverend Thomas, should we be fighting over the one Charlie Quintan rail, or should we be thinking about building many multiple rails in the country for many purposes?
I do not know the president's vision when he talked about road. I don't know whether it included diversity of transportation mediums. Where we are now in the reconstruction of Liberia, we should have bigger vision. What is stopping us from having railroad networks going from north to south, east to west? So we could prevail on these companies that are coming in. Yes, you want to use our railroads. This is our vision. We want railroads throughout the country. I want a railroad from Nimba to Buchanan, from Vojima to Harper City, across the country. Right? So multi-purpose railroads are needed. When it rains, since we do not have paved roads, our roads are impossible. Railroads could be an alternative. All right? In our country here, you can travel from north to west, east to south. If you don't want to fly, you can take a train, or you could take the bus and so forth. What is stopping us from constructing railroads? I think it should be multi-purpose railroads. You know, if you go before an investor and your expectation is low, that investor takes you because your expectation is low. I give you an example. I was hired to serve as a supervisor in an office. The folks in that office previously were used to sitting in dilapidated place that was not well lighted and so forth. But I came from a different background, and I got there. I said, no, this has to change. You have to change these lights, putting more lights, putting more seats. I need more seats here so my folks will be comfortable because they are contributing towards this institution. So serve them well. So we have to demand from these companies that want to invest in Liberia what our needs are and push them to address those needs.
Yeah.
So I opt for multi-purpose railroad.
Push them and let them address those needs.
Right.
Yeah. So, Dr. Pearson, the multi-purpose railroad is a significant investment for Liberia. But again, Liberia is far from achieving this because the way they started the process, they sold themselves so cheap when they started the process, and when LAMCO came, and they lacked that innovation that things were going to change after 50 years, after 40 years. We were just 3 million. Now we're going to what, 5 point some more million people. Innovation was going to come. I mean, things were going to be digitized. Today, can you imagine? It's just last year they started changing the logs from under the rails. They started putting cemented logs, cemented on cement under the rails. So now, what it's trying to do, watch my words, President Bouaga is trying to create extra jobs for the national rail authorities, so that you're going to have director, deputy director, all those guys will be there, be paying themselves extra money. They'll be collecting money from the AML, the HPX, and none of that will even benefit the country. So what we want to see is that let them negotiate with those companies, let them build multi-rails, so that those rails can run, in the different parts of the county, so that when you're leaving from Monrovia, you want to go to Bassa, you don't want to take car, like Reverend Thomas said, you can take train, like what we do here. But again, the innovation and the willpower is not there. This conversation that's just started, we're going to keep having it over the next 20 to 10 years. Even some of us will go, and our children will still be fighting about this, because corruption, the system is so spoiled. We have a spoiled system. So this will not be successful. Count my words.
So yeah, and I'm hearing that, and I saw a report where the high power exploration, the HPX mining facility in Guinea, which is around the Nima area there, is currently not operating because Guinea have put a halt to it, refusing to give them the operational license.
Right.
And the reason for that is because Guinea wants them to use the rail that they're supposed to condition from the Nima area all the way to Conakry at their seaport, which is far longer, twice the distance from Nima to Buchanan, or from Nima to Monrovia. So why is HPX financing our budget to induce lawmakers to give them this national road authority? I hope this is not going to be a problem for us. But let us move on to our next topic for tonight, if you don't mind, Dr. DK. Let us talk about the Elon Musk Starlink. That's an important one. Elon Musk Skylink.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about this. I mean, there is a positive and negative side of this whole thing. We want to encourage, competition.
Right.
In as much as we encourage competition, we should also think about businesses that have been existing in the country. We have to engage them to see how they can, encourage, accept and accommodate competition as well, so that they themselves can stay into business as well. We're not just bringing in people that will throw those businesses away. We have to look at because when you invest, what happens? There should be return. Elon Musk is not just coming to do donations; he's coming to do business. So there is nothing free in America. So you and I live here. If you give me something today free, tomorrow I will tell you, say, how much does it cost? Because I need to know. We have to clearly define. So what I'm hearing about, they're going to be internet free for government officials. I don't know for how many years, 1 year. And then after that, people will start paying money. They have to clearly define this thing. This is going to bring problem. Over the next 5 years, we're going to be discussing how to find solution. If we don't find solution now, and this is why we are talking about the rails today, because our parents did not make the right decision, so it's affecting us today. So if our government will not make the right decisions today, what happens is going to affect our children tomorrow, and they will say our parents did not make the right decision. So this is how Liberia have been built. We have always been solving problems. Always solving problem. We never look into solution. We never use our innovative skills in finding solution. So these are the problems we have. Is this project not good? This investment is a good investment. It's going to create job. But the benefit of this investment, if we compare to what will come out of it, who is going to benefit more? That's the question I'm going to leave with our audience so that they can decide.
Yeah, this is my own take on it, right? So the Skylink is believed to be very conducive to cover areas that traditional internet services and communication services cannot cover, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have access to Skylink, which is a satellite-based program, it probably might cover all of the 15 counties and all the rural communities, no matter where you are in the country. But then the question is it affordable for the ordinary people? Because if you say villages and towns will be covered, who in the villages and town making like $600 to be able to purchase just the receiver alone? All right, $600 just to purchase the receiver alone. Even if you were to bring that cost down to $400 just for the receiver, how many people in the villages can afford? Ordinary Liberians can afford that amount of money for a receiver. And then the Monday flat rate that we normally will have would be between like maybe $50 to $65, and maybe the minimum you can get it for will be like $40, $45. The question is, how many Liberians can afford this? So yeah, the optics sound fine, but again, the affordability is an issue. So now you just mentioned government officials are going to be maybe saying under the carpet that it's going to receive free services for the time being. But
1 year.
How does that benefit ordinary Liberians?
No, it does not.
It's just again a few people going to be benefiting again more. And it said the few people are going to be benefiting more. So that is another concern of us there. And there's another thing we need to take. Let me take this call. Maybe it's one of our viewers want to call. Let me take this call.
134.
Yes, please do.
Ran out.
So you want to be on by way of this means?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll keep you on like this.
Okay.
And it's time for you to talk. I'll put you on.
Okay.
All right. Then I will meet you.
Thank you.
So So as we're saying, if you come to think about it, can Liberians afford this? So let's assume it's going to be affordable. I just assume it's going to be affordable, right?
Muted.
Yeah. Let's assume it's going to be affordable. So even if it is affordable, the question, the next question that will come about is that, all right, so it's affordable, but at the same time, what happened to the local businesses already in Liberia? The Lone Star, the MTN, or Orange. These are guys who make much of their money through means of the how you call it, the internet services that they sell in the country, and the bulk of the money comes from bigger companies, right? Bigger companies, not just the small people buying $1, $2 things, bigger company. So I got Reverend Thomas on. Let Reverend Thomas, go ahead.
We should be careful so that we should not inject a group into our economy that will monopolize the operations and folks out of business. So we should stress a balance here. Encourage the existence of the current companies, and we have to be cautious. I have not read a lot about the new company that is trying to make entry into the Liberian market, but we have to do it in a cautious way to make sure we accommodate existing companies. And that's where the Liberianization policy comes in. These existing companies, Liberian-based, if they are, then we should encourage the existing and protect them against the monopoly.
All right. So I just want to clarify something is that Elon Musk's Skylink is internet based, is satellite based. So because it's satellite based, he doesn't have to be in Liberia. He doesn't even have to have office in Liberia. So it's not a Lone Star MTM that creating jobs because they have to be based in Liberia and have their subplants in all over the country. It's not like Orange also that have to have a major office and sub branches across the country. They don't even need a tower. They don't even need transmitter. They only need their receiver, little packet of receiver. Like we have our internet receiver in our homes here. So does that create jobs for Liberia if they put Lone Star MTM out of business or Orange out of business? Dr. Deke.
Well, Starlink, I mean, some companies in some of the NGOs, I think some of them, the ones that are like in Maryland, some of those areas, far areas, they use the satellite and provide internet, to some of their employees. So I don't know whether that's Starlink they use, but it's some company, in Europe that were providing that to them. So they use the satellite. So like you said, you don't need to have an office. Most of their things are remotely done. So definitely you won't have a lot of employees, as compared to Lone Star and Orange. So these are things that we have to clearly define. What is going to be the employment status. And another thing, again, AI is taking over the whole employment status now around the world. Just recently, Amazon dismissed over 900, I think now how many employee and hire AI robots. The whole people were crying. One of my colleagues was a victim. So robots now packing the boxes, signing the, receiving the orders and dispatching and all of that. So robots are doing almost everything now. So again, we already struggling. Machines are taking over already. Then Liberia, which is a third world country, if they're not careful, it means that the problem is going to be complex. It's going to be compound complex. So we need to be careful. We're hoping that the government will actually look at those things, consider the 16 companies in the country, and they can be able to. But I learned they already give that license to them. So Starlink already have a license. So definitely there's competition now. So what is going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years? We are witnessing, we are following the process, and we're hoping that they do the right thing, because a government should provide jobs for its citizens, should provide security, So we're hoping for the best.
All right, so that brings us to the close of our program tonight. We're gonna just make a rounds and give our closing thoughts, and we'll start with Reverend Thomas, who is on the phone. Reverend Thomas, you can get the closing.
Well, we started by discussing the president's trip to Rome, Italy. It is my fervent hope that the president articulate Liberia's needs and acquire assurances that there will be funding to help the Liberian agricultural sector. And upon his return, I appeal to him, the administration, for them to make it clear what the policies are, what our needs are, what are we going to do to boost agriculture. And I would encourage him to revisit plans that are already on the book that worked in the 1970s and late 1970s. We also discussed the issue of same-sex marriage, and it's my opinion that the Liberian bishop, the the Methodist bishops to call a conference of the Liberian clergy in the Methodist Church for them to affirm the position of the Liberian Methodist Church on the same-sex marriage issue. We've discussed other areas, the railroad issue. It is my recommendation that we go for multi-purpose railroad, and railroad should be constructed throughout the country, not only the one from Nimba to Buchanan, but why not from east to west, north to south? The vision must be big, and we should press those investors upon what vision we have, and we must demand bigger things from them. Look at Israel. Israel is getting billions of dollars. We ask for peanuts. When we have a few $millions, we celebrate. Why not go for, the highest thing, the billions? We need billions of dollars to develop our country. So our country priority should be what we really put forward, not the interest of investors, but our interest should be first and foremost in our mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Reverend Thomas. Dr. Dave Key.
Yeah, we want to thank our audience for following us today. Again, this is the melting pot. This is where we are not serving as a judge. We give the points to Liberian people, the information to them so they can decide. Reverend Thomas lay all those points that we just talked about. And it's important that President Bouaka pay serious attention to the needs of the Liberian people. The country is struggling. The expectation of the people are so high. And President Bouaka needs to create strategy. He needs to think outside of the box. He needs to engage investors. He needs to have a bigger vision, like what Dr. Thomas said. We need to stop thinking lower. We need to think bigger. Our parents, the decision they made 20, 50 years ago today is affecting us because they did not make the right decision. So today, now we have the opportunity. We have to, make the right decision so that our children that will come after us wouldn't say, oh, yeah, our parents did not make the right decision. So we're looking forward to President Bouaka. This government has to succeed. When he went over to the World Food Forum, we really expected him to talk about the strategies they have as a government and how are they going to implement this strategy to make Liberia more sustainable when it comes to food, because Liberia depends on rice as a staple food. So President Bouaka needs to do better. He has the experience. He has been in government over 40 years, and he has to come out. He has to do something. Another important thing I want to remind this president of is that if you appoint people in the government, you have to give them all of the support they deserve. You must give them logistic. You must give them budgetary allocations, because with all those means, they cannot succeed. Look at the education sector. With that minute portion that have been allocated to them, what do you expect in the next 5 or 6 years from now? Look at the healthcare sector. How can you give a clinic or health center $75,000? How can you give a college $35,000? I mean, what kind of budget is that? What kind of money is that? What would it do? Can that even cover salary expense? Can it even cover goods and services? So we need to do something. President Bouaka needs to get up. He needs to stop sleeping. He needs to get up. He said on President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, he was a parked car. This time, he's the driver of this car. He's not parked anymore. So he needs to move the car. He needs to drive the car. The car is being parked in Monrovia. He needs to go in the rural part of the country, and he needs to develop strategy and implement those strategies. Thank you so much. And to our audience, we will see you again. God bless you, and God bless Liberia.
So there you have it. The melting pot, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. in Eastern Time and 10 p.m. Liberian time at GMT. My own closing word is just to say to Bishop Samuel Quia, please hold that Methodist conference, special conference, and lift those suspensions so that you can reduce tension in the country within the Methodist Church, so that the church remain focused on its missions and its goal. with that, we call it a night. And thanks to Reverend Thomas Johnson and my own friend and brother, Dr. DK. Have a good weekend, a good week, I should say.
It's my honor, sir. And to the Liberian people, you deserve all the respect.
Play that music you're talking about. Play that music you're talking about.
Oh, the music from Sierra Leone. Yeah, let me talk about this music. The music just came out in Sierra Leone. They say work day. They say all the foreigners are coming to the country. They got speed. The foreigners are the one got the businesses. They got all of the money. Listen to it. What day?
Now we follow one another. You must be a brother's keeper. If we let me say we go fight for this country. Brothers, sisters, I don't know how we get.
All right, you have a good night. We have no
Right. So I want us to, we don't close our show. We're all informing the Liberian people that they should keep that doors closed. They should be safe and they should call on those various lines. So we will ask Dr. Pearson to just play that, as we go home with that.
All right. Yep. Lock your doors. NIB, lock your doors. Double check your windows and check everything. Make sure that you are not leaving that door or that window open.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Every community, can see. So if you see fine, nothing not in your hand for the right authority. Let it not take your again. Don't stop by here for us. When you set that to your girl, whether you reach or you go. If you see
I'm still on.
Yeah, you're still on. You're good.
Okay. I'm trying to get out.